So this is Michelle McGraw, Nathan, and Sami, and they are all from Scraps of My Geek Life. Started by Michelle in what year?
2006, 7, something like that.
Something like that, early on in the days. And now you've recruited some team members.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you blog about. I know that your family is kind of the focus of your blog in terms of you were a scrapbooker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you sort of became a digital scrapbooker in this way that a blog can be, and that all the photos and so I know photography is really important to you,
mm-hmm.
and that you've got some helpers in terms of video. But I'd love for you to sort of tell more about it. You're also tech friendly.
Yes, definitely. It actually a lot like your story was. I started blogging, or actually just a website, because we moved to Wisconsin, and he was just like a year and a half, and my mother would call me, with these, all I printed out was an eye, you sent the picture, I can't figure it out, so I was getting really tired of trying to explain how to print a picture, over a long distance, so I said, okay, I'm gonna put it, created a web page, and started putting pictures up there, and then talking about what the kids were, what he was doing, and then we had her, and we weren't close to the family, so it was kind of a way for all of our family to be able to see, and I only had to put one picture up, the information didn't have to say everything twice and 4 times, and so, and for years I just did that, and I would get complaints from my family, you gotta put up new pictures, and so then when I started scrapbooking and discovered digital scrapbooking when I had my 4th, I have another, an 8 and 9-year-old that are at home with my husband too, so these are the oldest. And so then I started writing more about the digital scrapbooking and how I did that. And I realized suddenly that there were people who were watching, or reading my blog that were not family. And I was like, wow. I remember my first comment, somebody asked me a question about it. I was like, oh my God, it's not my mom. That kind of grew. I started talking more about the scrapbooking because it was a huge, I think it's really important for us to document the stories of our lives, like the daily lives of what goes on in our family. Because I know my mom did the same thing. We have tons of pictures of like what we ate at dinner and all sorts of things like that, and so I think it's really important. So I like to write a lot about the stories of our lives and why I document it. And so it's just really grown from that. I never intended it to be a business or to be anything other than for my family. But now that they're getting older, I find too that my topics are more, instead of talking about what they're doing or where they're at and them being the focus of it, it's more our family. It's kind of, I write a lot about the technology that I use. Now I don't do as much scrapbooking now as I used to, but we really, my tagline is technology to enhance your life, because I really think that tech gets kind of a bad rap, and that people think, oh, if my kids are on their phones all the time, then they're going to be antisocial, and I don't think that technology makes us antisocial. As a matter of fact, once I have gotten onto social media, and I think I have more friends and have met more people than I ever did in my real life before that, and had more opportunities come my way. So I really try to show them that if used wisely, this isn't the bad thing. So that's really kind of where we're at now. And he actually does some YouTube stuff too. He's like you did. He just decided one summer that he was going to do a stop motion video with Legos, and he was like 11, and you can tell his story.
Nathan?
Oh, sure, let's go. Okay, so yeah, I was watching a lot of YouTube, watching these Lego Batman videos, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool, I want to do that. So I watched tutorial videos on how to do that, and I was like, oh cool, so I made my own stop motion video, and that took an entire summer to make a 5-minute video. And I put that on there, and well, I was just proud of myself for doing that.
Well, and he showed it to us, and when your kids first bring videos to you, sometimes you're looking at them, yeah, it's very good, yeah, and you're trying really, you're like, wow, does it ending?
Supportive.
Right, yes. So that's what my husband and I were really expecting, and we were floored. I mean, like, he had the when you're watching movies and there's like this pause and for effect and for emotion, he had all of that. I mean, it was just really good. We were really, really impressed, so we encouraged him to do a lot more of that. And Sami helps me a lot with the writing that I do. She has done, actually my most popular post on my blog is the review you did, I don't even know if she knows this, the review she did for the Soul Surfer book. She had to write.
It was a school project, actually. It was, I had to read a biography or something about somebody who was inspirational to myself, and it was like last year in the 6th grade, and I ended up getting, you know, like 104 on it because, and then one day I was finished typing it, and my mom was like, "This is amazing, and can I put it on my blog?" And I was like, "Sure," because I was like, what are you talking about? Like, really, why do you want my English report on your blog? But okay. And then like she was showing me just, you know, everything that like is on there. That was really cool.
So yeah, and that's also the most controversial post I have. Believe it or not, you'd think that because people disagree with what she said, what she's reviewed.
There was one comment was like, I think it was about like how much blood she lost.
Yeah, I mean, like,
did you really just tell me that I wrote the wrong thing and I got it out of the book? But you know,
that was like the most controversial and the most. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. Yes, and you will find this, and I guess I'll just skip right to the annoying comments or nasty comments question for you guys. How does that feel, and what's your policy?
Well, for me, like sometimes like I don't really like care what people say, but like I'll just ignore it and delete it.
Again, good lesson for all of us.
We take the same approach that Dan does, and we just. I mean, it does hurt. I mean, I don't deny it, that even when you first read it, you're especially when I see it sometimes on my kid's stuff, I'm like, you know, I mean, it's my kid. Right. And when I say to myself, I want to get all defensive, and I want to go and write this long, you know, reason why I did what I did, and then finally I'm just like, you know what? It's just going to perpetuate, so we just delete.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone's going to like what you do or who you are, but it doesn't really matter.
And how old is this wisdom coming from? This is very important.
13.
Oh, you're very wise. Well, beyond your youth. So how often, like, do you have limits? Do you have rules about screen time? What's it like in the household?
I do have all of the safety things on there. I have, as a matter of fact, on there, they can't have Facebook accounts until they're 13. We had at 12:01 on her birthday.
Well, it was 3:01.
Actually,
yeah, this is a good story.
So I had a sleepover with my friend on my birthday. We were all excited to make my Facebook account, but then it was like 12:10. I went in to wake up my mom, and we realized that you can't make Facebook until it's 12 in California.
Pacific time.
And we're in Eastern, so.
Yeah,
so she had to wait 3 more hours.
Yeah, I waited 3 more hours.
Did y'all get a little more sleep at least? Or So yeah, that rule meant a lot to you, and you.
It does. I mean, it gives. I like that there's some of those rules out there that I can just say no, you can't, because it's easy, exactly. Yeah. And I don't believe that in giving them before, because I figure if I lied to give her a Facebook account, she's going to lie. She's going to think it's okay for her to lie on the internet then, so I don't promote it. So, and I'm very strict about that. And my younger two also, they don't. So it's kind of a rite of passage in our house at 13. But then I have all the passwords. I monitor. I have something called Mirror Monitor or Minor Monitor on Facebook, and it sends me anytime it says anything, like even if she says "shut up" to one of her friends, it sends me a little thing that says possible violence. You know, so it's I don't.
I feel like I would say that.
No. But it's just nice, and they know that they have all of these things, and we all have laptops. Everybody, even my younger kids, we all have laptops too, and I have all the software on there that it will even randomly at times take video if it thinks that they're doing something it shouldn't, and I can look at that if it sends me a little note, and they all know it, so it's sort of their. I think we all need kind of a reason to not do, I mean, you need to know that somebody's looking over your shoulder, especially at this age, because they aren't going to test the boundaries, and I don't want them testing those boundaries and doing something permanently that they could hurt themselves. So as far as the limits we have in the house for them using it, I don't have any limits really, because I believe that this is such a part of their lives that they're going to live with this attached to them or whatever it is, that I want them to learn.
No one's taking it.
I want them to learn to self-monitor. And now within, like, my 8 and 9-year-old, obviously, I have more control over how they can and use it. They cannot access anything in the internet in their rooms. There's certain things like that. So age appropriately, they don't have limits. But he's almost 16, and he can pretty much,
I can pretty much take care of myself online.
Yeah, within, but once again, when he's going to put stuff on YouTube, we talk about the kind of movie he's going to make, and I'm
sorry, can I just turn this off? This is bothering me. Your phone is vibrating.
Okay, tech monitoring from the younger generation.
It goes both ways. And it really does. They do sometimes be like, Mom, we're on vacation. Turn the, and I'm like, okay.
Well, it is the family.
Yeah,
that
it is.
Together. Yeah.
It is, exactly. And we do, and my husband is not as much into the tech stuff like we are, except that he, he's attached to his phone because of work. And so we often have to say, it's time to move into the family.
Yeah, dinner time, get off your email.
Yeah. But, we have rules like dinner time, no phones, no TV, when we do the same thing, we try to have dinner as often as we can together. But yeah, it's just the whole technology is really part of our lives.
Right, so it's more just family rules rather than, okay, well, here's our family rule, and then we have a specific rule for technology that is this. It's just kind of all together.
Right. I mean, it's when we're together, we want to be together, and and sometimes together means we're all sitting at the table on our laptops, but. We're together.
Well, it's also the sort of, and I think they've talked about it in the safety session, and like the grandma rule. And,
right. Oh yeah. And we're starting to look, because he's going to be junior, so we're starting to look at colleges. So I said, you cannot. I said anything that you are putting out there, a college may look at, a boss is going to look at. So you got to think, is this something that you want, your future boss to look at? So.
I have to say, I think that's a really, really hard thing. I know I've heard it a lot of times, and I think even for someone not applying to college anytime soon, that's a really hard thing to think about, and I think that's an added pressure for you guys in this generation that I certainly didn't have in mine, and I wish you the best of luck with it, and thankfully I think your mom's there to help guide you guys, all of you in the room. I think that's a toughie, because how can you know what's going to happen in 10 years?
Right, exactly.
10 minutes,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So good luck. So then I wanted to say too, in terms of the digital scrapbooking, the digital sort of preservation of your life, your present life for the future, and for also showing your family, there was this really cool thing that happened recently. Was it Adobe?
Adobe, yes.
And so what happened
They came out to our house for 19 hours in January and basically followed us around all day it started out, I had to get up at 5 a.m. to get my hair and makeup done. And they were
everywhere.
Yeah. They had like four video camera guys, and then there was the microphone guy, and then there was the guy, then there was the two people taking the still picture. It was crazy. I have a really, and people in reality shows, that one day was just, because they
had to rearrange our whole kitchen table to film dinner.
Yeah, everything was, it was just, it was fun, but it was insane too, the day, and we had to redo I didn't realize how many retakes there are real life. They're like, okay, could you do that again?
Unscripted.
Could you flush the toilet again?
They came to pick me up from school that day, and we had to drive away from where the kiss and ride was 5 times. I had to get in the car 12 different times. I had to walk at 12 different angles. I was like, can I just go home already?
And I was mic'd up, so every time she got in, I had to say the exact same,
the exact same thing
every time.
Hello, daughter. How are you?
Yeah, so it was really
and there were all the conversations that we never really had. It was just hi, Mom, and then we leave.
So after this 19 hours, basically we have now a 3.5-minute video that shows how and why I think it's important to document our lives. And it came about because I use Photoshop Elements. And so they really wanted to show how families are using Photoshop Elements to document their lives.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It's on my blog, actually, Scraps of My Geek Life. It's on the right side, and they did a really great job. It was awesome. I feel kind of like, and I told them that I thought what was most exciting about it is to me it now captured a day in our lives at this point, and that's for us even now for the future. It'll be so great. 20 years down the line, they'll be able to show their kids and say, look at this video, this is what life was like.
We had people with cameras following us.
Totally, this is how it's done.
Right. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you said one of the things you said that you want not just posed pictures, you want sort of, so that people can, when you're older, you can see sort of the fabric of your life, what was in your room and, that kind of thing.
Right. I do what's called a Project 365 every year, and it's you take one picture every day. And after doing that a couple of years, you kind of they feel like you run out of things, and that, you know, so that's when I think I was on my 3rd year when I kind of went, wait a minute, it doesn't always have to be of some fantastic huge birthday or something that's going on. And I started taking pictures, like things even that irritate me, like my kids always, they all have a spot for their shoes, but they all take their shoes off and leave them in our laundry room, and it's a small laundry room, so you're always tripping on them. So one day I was like taking pictures of that, you know, because I'm like, you know, 20 years when they're all gone, I'll be like, oh, remember when the kids used to keep their shoes, and you know, we were tripping over them, and now they're not here. Yeah. You know, so little things like that, what you eat for dinner, what's in your pantry, the kind of foods, the kind of snacks you eat, you know, all those things, you know, your pajamas, what the kids, I will sometimes, you know, go in their rooms and just, even though it's a mess, and I'll just take pictures. And they're kind of like, okay, you know, but it really, I mean, we have like 18,000 pictures of, you know, from the last 3 years of just daily life.
Right. So. No, it's true, because we you know, used to say, our kids didn't know what a rotary phone was, because there was only one in our lives, you know, and they often never saw it.
Is this some medieval phone?
Yeah, it is. It was a form of torture, because you had to wait for it to go all the way around before you could dial again.
Oh,
but, you know, oddly enough, this will be that same anachronistic, ridiculous old thing.
It's going to be like, how did you press that button?
Yeah. You had to use touch? Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like we were talking about a story, and I was telling them on the way up here about something that happened when I was a kid, and I said, when this was before cell phones, she started laughing. I mean, like, uncontrollably, like, she didn't even, like, she's like, what was that, like the 1800s? Yeah. I'm like, no.
Yeah, and we get that kind of talk anyway from our kids, of course, but, or pre-internet, you know, or the first time or dial-up, you know, these kind of things, they do change so fast, and it's true, like, you know, you don't have a record of it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So, anything else you want to tell us before we wrap up and move on to the Q&A?
No,
Don't do drugs.
What?
Don't do drugs.
Make good choices.
This is good, thank you.
These little bits of wisdom.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that for us blogging, it's just really, it's something we all do it. I mean, I always, I love it. I love it. And the whole family is really a part of it. And I think sometimes my kids forget that we do it. I mean, it's like business for me too, because it's just such a huge part of our daily lives. And so it doesn't feel like.
Is it your living?
It is sort of, but I've got a lot of side things that have come from it so that's a little bit less now, but it's all become because of blogging. So.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to